This is Darius, the Professor Wise, host of Wise Words with Darius. Thank you.
Some of you have been told that you're not tall enough. Some of you have been told that you're not skinny enough. Some of you have been told that you're not smart enough. Some of you have actually been told that your skin color is not the right color. You've all been misdiagnosed.
Then it hit me. It's not hearing the information that matters. It is the application and the implementation of that information that makes the difference.
Yes.
Good evening, everyone. How are you? Welcome to Wise Words with Darius. I am your host, Darius, the Professor Wise, and I'm so glad that you joined me today. Happy Monday to you. I'm really excited this evening. The young lady that I have with me is a powerhouse. I'm just going to tell you that now. She's a powerhouse. And if you have any thought of writing a book, you need to make sure that you're listening to this young lady right here. I'm trying to share this out at the same time, so bear with me, guys, so you can see it. But I want to welcome you all. I can't even see you, Julian.
Oh, B, do Julian B.
Oh, hold on, guys. We're just trying to do some technical things here. Still don't see you come up. Why is it giving me that? It's always something. There you are. Trying to make sure we get this shared out. All right. So, guys, again, my name is Darius, the Professor Wise. Welcome to Wise Words with Darius. I have a very special guest. I'm really excited about this young lady. But just so for those who are, checking us out for the first time, here on Wise Words with Darius, one of the things that we want to do is provoke some thought. We just want to get you to change and challenge the thoughts that you have, the things that you believe. And I don't mean in your religious beliefs, but the things that you believe. Because I understand that, the things that we think about, we believe, most of that, part of that paradigm was already programmed before we were age 7. So a lot of grown adults are running around thinking based on things they were taught before they were 5 to 7 years old. So here on Wise Words with Darius, we just want to give you some thought-provoking success principles, some wise words to kind of challenge those thoughts and put you in a situation where you can start to think yourself into your ideal situation. Okay? Now, I hope you all had a happy Thanksgiving and found a lot of things to be grateful for and thankful for.
I did.
Right. I did too. And it's always a good time of year because, we should be thankful all the time, but it really kind of puts us in a space where we are pretty much forced to think about it. And those for you watching on Facebook Live, definitely interact with us. We want to make sure that we can, interact with you and make sure that if you have questions, we get those things answered as well if we have time. But my special guest, I really want to thank her for coming. And one of the reasons I want to thank her for coming is because in my process of writing my book, I came across one of her videos. And in her video, she actually shared a tidbit with me. And I'm saying with me like she was talking just to me, but she was, right?
I was.
She shared a tidbit with me that actually got me through a period where I was actually stuck in writing. And I'll share what she shared with me a little later because she might share it herself and I'll let you know. But I'll share with you a little bit. But let me tell you a little bit about this young lady. So my guest tonight is Julian B Kiganda. Kiganda?
Yeah.
Oh, all right. I was making sure I get that right. And so she is a branding expert and she's a marketing strategist, been in this space for about over 20 years, helping transform and build businesses from, international organizations, Fortune 500 companies, multi-million-dollar nonprofits, small businesses. She wrote her first book, or she co-authored a book, Whose Shoes Are You Wearing? 12 Steps to Uncovering the Woman You Really Want to Be, back in 2014. And since then, she's done some things with others. So she's been helping other people author and write their book, publish it, launch it, promote it, and have a successful journey in writing their book. So if you had any idea, you had the idea at all of writing a book, this is the show you definitely want to make sure you take a look at. But she's also an active public speaker. She's a mentor. She's been featured on numerous media outlets such as ABC News, NBC News, The Washington Post, Essence.com, Fox's Good Day DC, just to name a few. So please help me welcome Miss Julian Kiganda. Hello.
It is my pleasure to be here, Darius.
I'm so glad that you're here.
I'm glad to be here. You know, so crazy because I know you and I have known each other online forever. And this is the
Right.
first time we're actually meeting in
I
person.
know, but it seems like we've already known
We
each
knew
other. Right?
Exactly.
And that's the beauty of, social media now, that you can actually start to develop a relationship with people.
Yeah.
And when you actually face-to-face meet them, you already seem like you've been knowing each other forever.
Yeah, absolutely.
Because I've been watching you for a long time.
Have you really?
Oh, I have.
Oh, well, thank you.
Now-
I appreciate that.
Now, this is one of the things that I believe. I believe that when you put things out into the universe, the universe figures out how it needs to be brought to your attention.
Absolutely.
And you may not know how it comes back. So I was at a point, I mentioned this a little earlier, I was at a point when I was writing my book where I was a little stuck, right? And I was felt like I was spinning my wheels a little bit. And I came across one of your videos. I don't even know how initially, right? I think it was just because we have a couple mutual friends, right? And I think I seen something that one of them shared or commented on, and then I started looking at what you were doing, and you were giving tips on how to write your book. And so I'm gonna share what you shared, what you said that day. So I was going through writing, right, and I'm focused on writing this book, and I could not get to a point where I felt like I was moving. Felt like I was kind of just in that same chapter that I was on, and just stuck in that chapter.
How long have you been working on your book at that point?
Maybe 5 or 6 months.
Okay.
Maybe.
Okay.
Now I'll tell you the book story is crazy because I had the book idea 20 years ago.
I remember you mentioned that.
Yeah. So
Yeah.
but when I actually sat down and really focused on writing, I had probably been about 5 months. I started maybe in November. I think I heard this video I seen in particular was probably March, maybe.
Okay.
Something like that. And what you said was, you can't write and edit at the same time. You can't write and edit at the same time.
Big one.
Julian, do you know how I was stuck because I kept going back when I would write something?
Yep.
I would keep going back and editing what I wrote, say, that doesn't really sound right. How do I want it to sound like that?
Don't make that mistake.
So that right there actually got me out of this little slump, and I just kind of flowed through the rest of it. So thank you. I want to publicly thank you.
My pleasure. And it's really interesting you say that because I think out of all the tips I shared, I keep hearing from people that was the one thing that helped them get over a hump as well. Because, as human beings, we tend to be perfectionists in our own way. We don't want to put anything out there unless we feel that it's perfect.
Right.
The problem with that is most times you're going to have a graveyard of ideas because you're so focused on it being perfect, you never put anything out there.
That's good, though.
And, I mean, that's what happens.
Yeah,
You
because
know?
I know for a fact that that's true. Because I was in that space.
Yeah, absolutely.
I'm writing my first book,
Absolutely.
and I didn't realize that.
Yeah.
I was thinking that I needed to at least have it where it was like somebody else could read it and it made sense.
Absolutely.
Right.
And at the end of the day, the most important thing when it comes to writing your book, I know we're going to get deep into it because
Right.
I love talking about
I know, that's why I have you here.
But the most important thing is to get the ideas out of your head.
Right.
Not just to get the content out of your head. Because once it's out, then it frees your mind to now focus on everything else that you need to do. But if it's still there and you're trying to edit as you go, that's exactly why people say stuck, is because they're trying to do all of that and the content is still there. They haven't gotten it out.
But I was losing stuff.
Yeah, and see, that's the thing.
I was losing. I was like, okay, that's good. But then, let me hold up. Let me go back.
Exactly.
And then I would lose that thought.
Uh-huh.
And I'd be
That's
like,
it.
that was good. What did I
That's
want?
it. That's what happens, though. That's exactly what happens.
I was like, that was
So,
good.
Yeah, I'm so glad that helped you because your book, I had a chance to read it on vacation. It's a great book.
Thank you.
It's a great book.
Thank
Great
you.
job,
I'm
Darius.
glad that you were able to take a chance and read it. So I
did.
appreciate it.
Absolutely.
If I get the okay from you, I feel good.
Oh yeah, well I
I'm
left
good.
you an Amazon review, so you know you're good.
Well, thank you. Now, tell us a little bit about getting to the point of writing the book. Let's kind of go back into Jillian a little bit, and so we understand, and those that don't know, you kind of get a feel for like where'd you come from, like before you were writing and helping people write, to get to the point that this is what you feel that, and you know that this is what you were called to do.
Yeah. Well, it's interesting because my background is actually in graphic design.
Okay.
And so, I still design. That's my first love. But what we learn in school, and even once you really get out in the world, you start doing this work, you learn that your job is to tell your client's story in a way that's compelling enough for people to buy into the idea of whatever it is they're selling, they're advocating for, they're promoting, whatever that looks like. So I realized that even in my work with my clients, whether or not I'm helping them do a book, if it's a campaign, a brand I'm helping them create, I'm a professional storyteller. That's my job.
Yes.
Because, they say, there's a quote now that says, marketing is the new storytelling. Or rather, storytelling is the new marketing.
Okay.
If you look at advertising and the way that it's changed over the years, we've become really savvy about how we take in information. So what used to work before doesn't work now.
Well, social media has kind of, pushed us in that direction.
Absolutely.
Right.
Absolutely. And so you realize that to really get people's attention, like I'll give a perfect example of why, storytelling is so important. If you look at the Bible, Jesus told everything in parables. He told everything in a story.
Yes.
Because he realized that's how people take in information and it sticks.
Yes.
If you think about the things that have been most memorable for you and most compelling books that you read, it's because they've told a really great story that you could relate to and you could connect to. And so, once I started realizing that that's really what it was, I think that's why writing a book may have come easier to me than some people.
Okay.
Because the process was actually similar to the process that we use when we're creating a brand and a campaign. So the first thing you have to really look at when you're writing your book is, what is your why? This is what I always tell people to start with. What is your why?
Okay.
Because
so as far as why are you writing the book?
Why are you absolutely,
okay.
Absolutely.
Okay.
Because, and this is important, whether it's your book, I know you're talking about, transforming your mind, whether it's transforming your life. If you're trying to lose weight, if you're just trying to fit into a pair of jeans, that why is probably not going to keep you going for very long, right?
Right.
But if you're saying, look, I have to be healthy for my kids who are young. I want to be here for them for years.
Right.
And that's your why. It's probably going to carry you a lot further than trying to fit into some jeans.
Right.
So it's really the same thing about writing your book. You really have to be clear about, why are you telling the story? Who are you trying to impact? What is it supposed to, what purpose is it going to serve? Because if you don't have a why, you're kind of, I feel like you're writing in the dark,
Okay.
And I think that's what a lot of people do. I think writing a book and saying that I'm an author has become the thing, right? So they say now your book is now an expensive business card. And I'm sure, you've seen some of this. And I've seen books that people write and they're pamphlets. I'm like, why waste paper on a pamphlet?
I know for me, I had this book I did 20 years ago. And at that time, I thought it would just be cool to say I was an author.
Absolutely.
I thought it would be cool.
Yeah.
I thought it would be but I had the title and all that for the book, but I just thought in my, oh man, that would be so awesome to write a book and say I wrote a book.
Yeah.
So that I can relate to that.
Absolutely. And my response to that would be, and I tell people, because people have asked, well, what if it's only like, 50 pages? That's not a book. That's a pamphlet. Why are you going to have people spend money, their good money, on a pamphlet?
On pamphlet.
Right?
I've seen those too.
And I have too.
I've seen those too.
And honestly, I actually think it does you more harm than good. Because my whole thing is, you want to put out a quality product.
Yes.
You want to put out something that people are going to come back to and say, man, you got to read this.
Right.
You have got to read this.
Because that's how you're going to get more books out there anyway, is word of mouth. And with anything,
Absolutely.
So you can do whatever advertising. So now, at that point, so you realize that you're a storyteller when you're doing the branding and the graphic design. So now you move into, I'm gonna write a book. What did that look like? What did that sound like to you? Like, I always talk about, as a chapter in the book, I hear voices. Like, what was that in your head? How did that sound? But this is the big part.
Yeah.
What did you think after that?
Yeah.
When you initially had that thought?
That's a good question. So as you mentioned, the Star book, Whose Shoes Are You Wearing? 12 Steps to Uncovering the Woman You Really Want to Be.
So ladies, you need to go out there and get this.
Yeah, this I tell you, this book, to this day, we get people sending us messages on Facebook, Instagram, email. I mean, so many messages from women and men who have told us that this book has changed their lives.
So whose shoes are you wearing?
Whose shoes are you wearing? And initially, it came about from a conversation that I had with my sister Christine.
Okay.
So Christine has her own brand called Moms in Charge, and she really teaches moms how to pursue their dreams despite being mothers, wives, whatever it is that they're doing, not to use that as an excuse, but use that as a why, right?
Okay.
Why?
Okay.
And so we were having a conversation because then I have my brand as well. I have another brand called Bold and Fearless. And that was really just, encouraging women to go after what they wanted boldly and fearlessly. It doesn't mean that you don't have any fear. It just means that you're more focused on your why than you are on the fear, on why this is so important.
Right.
And so we were having a conversation, and she was like, Julian, I have these mothers who I'm coaching, and I want to provide a tool for them that they can use without me being around.
Right.
And so I said, okay, a tool. I said, well, you know what? I said, well, sis, you talk about transformation. I talk about transformation. Why don't we write a book about transformation?
Right.
And so she was all enthusiastic about it, thinking, oh, a book, So in her mind, we have this debate all the time. In her mind, she heard ebook. And
not something physical I can hold.
She wasn't thinking about all that. But I was like, she's known me all my life. She should have known that my philosophy is go big or go home.
Right.
I ain't talking about no ebook.
Right.
So we literally sat down and we just did a brain dump of all the topics that we wanted to write about. And we did it all remotely. We did it all through Google Docs.
Okay.
Because we live about an hour apart. And I wasn't driving all the way to her. She wasn't coming all the way to me. But, it took us actually 6 weeks to write the book,
Wow.
And the reason it took 6 weeks goes back to what you said earlier. We did not edit as we wrote. We literally just did an outline. And that's another important aspect of writing your book and being effective, in your writing. But we did the outline, and then we just started writing.
So just a brain dump.
Just a brain dump. Literally a brain dump.
Okay.
And we just started writing. And I think the key was also us being accountable to one another. So we had deadlines we knew we had to hit. And it was like, all right, sis, where's it at?
Right.
Like, where's it at? But I would say, just to your question about, what did we think after we decided to go ahead and write this book? Because we realized that in order to write a book effectively, about what we wanted women to read about, which is transforming their lives and dealing with some of the challenges that they may come across.
Right.
We realized that we had to tell our truth. And
so you had to become vulnerable.
Oh man, that's the word right there.
Yes.
That's the word right there.
Yes. Okay.
Vulnerable. I tell you. And that was challenging because we're originally from East Africa, from Uganda. But we've grown up here, but we tend to have a very, and I think this is just true in the black community where it's whatever happens in your house stays in your house.
Stays in the house.
Yeah,
right.
The streets,
Don't tell nobody what happened in this house. Right.
But at the end of the day, keeping all that in actually makes you sick. We have so many mental health issues in our community because we keep that stuff in the house and we don't get the help that we need. And we don't talk about it.
Right. Or just talk about it, which can just be therapeutic in itself.
Exactly.
Yeah.
That's exactly it.
Right.
And so we said, okay, we're going to do this. And our second thought was, what mom and dad gonna say?
Right. And I asked that question because I know that there are a lot of people that are probably watching that'll see this that had an idea. Because I know people have come to me. Once I finished my book, I know there were people that come and say, oh man, I should write a book. Yeah. I have a friend of mine now that's in the process of writing this book, and every time I talk to him, it's like, "Are you done? Don't call me back till you're done."
Till you're done.
See, and I can say it now because I'm finished.
Right. Look, I'm done with mine.
But I know it's people that have these fears,
Yeah.
and they have all these thoughts.
Yeah.
And you said something that was pivotal is what is mom and them going through? So what is that other person? What are those people that you're close to? What are they going to think?
Yeah.
And what are they going to say?
What
And
they
you
gonna
know, we
say?
get so caught up on what is such and such going to think,
Yeah.
or what is this person going to say, that we get so stuck and caught in that matrix right there that we don't even move forward in what it is that we know that's been put inside of us that we need to get out.
Say that. We at church right now. Come on, Darius.
But that's it. And
That's
you know,
real.
because I had that feeling as well. Because
Yeah.
for me, it was, they don't know me as an author. What are people going to say when I come up and say I'm writing a book? They're going to be like, yeah, whatever, dude. Right? All my boys from when we was growing up and went to school with and all that. Like, hold up, Joe. You
Right.
going to write a book?
Right.
Yeah,
right.
okay. I believe that when I see it.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
So you have all that. And whatever it is, your girlfriends and everything. So that is a big part of why we freeze sometimes and don't take that next step to say, I'm just going to do it.
I agree. It holds a lot of people up.
Oh,
know?
yeah.
And I think that's why you have to have that strong why. Because with the strong why, you'll be able to push past all of that.
Mm-hmm.
You know, I tell people all the time that, you know, when you hide your gift, when you don't tell your story and you keep that to yourself, you are keeping somebody else from their gift.
Mm-hmm.
Because they may need your light to discover their own. And so I always tell folks, you know, be willing to tell your story. And there's ways that you can tell your story where you're putting your business out there, but there's certain things you don't have to put everything out there.
Right.
So, you know, one of the things that we did that I think was really key before we even started writing was we had to have healed from a lot of those things, right? Because in order to write about it in a way that's going to help somebody else, you have to take yourself out of that victim mode.
Yes.
And so we were in a place where we could take accountability for how we responded to what happened to us. It may not have been our fault, but as adults now we had a choice. We could take accountability for our response and how we, you know, reacted to certain situations in our lives.
Okay.
So I think the key is just you have to be in a place where you're ready to look at it objectively. You're not laying blame to anybody. You're using it as a lesson that can bless somebody else.
Bless somebody else.
Yeah.
So you have this idea, you and your sister,
Yep.
we're going to write this book.
Yeah.
The second thought is, what is mom and them going to think? And you have all these thoughts. Yeah. So you push through that, and basically that's from the why that you had.
Absolutely.
On why you decided you were going to write this book.
Absolutely.
What the benefit was going to be to everyone else who came across this book. And so really, for those that are looking to write a book, the biggest thing is you need to understand that there's going to be a struggle.
Oh, absolutely.
At some point.
Absolutely. And
At
my
some
sister
point.
will tell you, you know, I think for me, because I always knew I was going to be an author. I didn't know when. I didn't realize I was going to be writing my first book with my sister. But
Which is great.
Yeah, no, I'm glad we did. You know,
Right.
I think it's been such a great partnership, and all the things that have come out of it have been absolutely phenomenal. But I think for me, I was so ready to tell my story because I had already started writing about a lot of the stuff on my blog. So I think for both of us, I think one of the reasons why we're able to write the book in 6 weeks was because we were already avid bloggers. So we were already in that habit of writing.
Right.
You know.
'Cause see, that leads me into another question that I had for you. I know for me, I wasn't a writer.
Right.
Right? So I had kind of, you know, you learn what you learn in school, kind of how to make a sentence and a paragraph and all that.
Yeah.
But I didn't think of myself at the time. And this is just my thoughts, right? So I know that the way you think, you're going to prove yourself right. So I was thinking that I wasn't a writer. I was thinking that writing a book was a daunting task, right? So having that background helps. But what would you tell somebody who doesn't have that background, that doesn't see themselves as a writer? Like, and then the whole grammatical part of it and making stuff make sense and the paragraphs flow from one to the other. What do you tell that person?
That's a great question, actually. And I don't know how many people know Lisa Nichols.
Yes.
But she's a phenomenal speaker, author, all of that. And she often talks about how she struggled in school. She was a CD student. She was not, her teacher told her never to write or speak in public. because she just was not any good at it.
Uh-huh.
And she had to get to a point where she realized, okay, I'm going to tell my story and I'm going to write it. It didn't have to be perfect because I can get somebody else who's going to edit it and get it to that point. That's what editors are for. So I think when people get stuck, they don't realize, wait, there's another process it goes through.
Right.
Your final word is not your final word.
Right.
You know, and I think that's another mistake a lot of people make is they don't go to a professional editor before they put their book out when you're self-publishing.
Mm-hmm.
But I think just to your question, I think two things. I think one, understanding that even if you don't see yourself as a writer, you have a story to tell. And I guarantee your story is going to bless somebody. And I think so many times we discount what we've been through thinking, ain't nobody going to be interested in that?
Right.
When at the end of the day, it's really about the human connection and people feeling like, oh, she gets me. She's been there. She's done that. And this is how she got through it.
Right.
He got through it.
Right.
So I think that's one. I think two, to get through that whole doubt and fear thing, you have to turn your writing into a habit. And what I mean by that is you can't say, okay, I'm going to write today. I don't feel like writing the next day, and I'm going to get back to it in a couple of weeks. And, you know, because people do that.
Then it's 20 years.
And then it's like everything in its time, right? But the other thing that helped us was one, of course, the accountability. So having somebody to be accountable to, like you're doing with your friend. He ain't talking to you, so he's done, right?
Right.
But then two, you want to actually set a time, a consistent time every day to write, whether it's 10 minutes, whether it's 15 minutes, find a time and a place where you can just write and focus on that. Because once you turn it into a habit, it makes it easier to actually finish it because you start seeing the progress.
Right.
You know?
Right. And that's I think that's big too. When you see that you have 5 pages or 10 pages, then you get to 20 pages and you like, what?
We're doing this.
What?
Yeah.
Because I know, and I'm gonna ask you to see if it's just me.
Yeah.
I was afraid to open that package when my proof came. Right? Because it was like that moment. My wife had to tell me, she was like, boy, if you don't open that package. right?
That's why
She was like, you better open that thing. I was like, nah, you open it. She was like, boy, open that thing. But just seeing that, like, I did this, right? You know, that's such a great feeling.
It is.
So when you and your sister were done, and you got that copy,
oh man,
what was that moment like?
Well, it was interesting because so it was exciting.
Right.
We got 5 galleys. So people who are not familiar with the language in the industry, you get something called a galley before you actually publish your book, and that's like a proof.
Right.
But it's an actual hard copy of the proof, and it usually just has, proof copy or something, on the cover. And so, we got our galleys, and we wanted to make sure that our family got a chance to read what was in there before it actually went out to the public, because there were some very personal situations that we were like, we don't want them to be blindsided, right? So we got the galleys about 2 months before our book launch.
Okay.
Our book launch was in May. We got our galleys in March. And so there was first the excitement of, oh my goodness, we got, it's real, sis. It's real. And then we're like, oh, it's real. We got shit from mom and dad.
Right.
Before it goes out, right? So it was funny because we got 5 copies, and we had 2 that circulated within our family, and then a couple that we gave to other people in our close circle.
Okay.
And we gave one to our parents to read. So we knew my sister had given a copy to my mother. We didn't hear from her for a week.
Wow.
We didn't hear from her. And the funny thing is, she kept asking us. She knew we were writing a book, so she kept saying, because my mother, when it comes to grammar, she's like the grammarian in the family.
Okay.
She'll correct your text message.
Okay.
Like, Mommy, it's a text message.
She's spelling everything correctly.
Right? But she actually offered to edit our book while we're writing. Like, no, Mom, because if she had done it, we would have never had a book. Let me tell you something.
Wow.
Right now. We would've,
right.
She was like, don't y'all need me to edit? No, Mom, we're good. Thank you. We're good. But we didn't hear from her for a week. And come to find out, she had read the book. I think my dad had read it too. And, we talk about some really hard stuff in here.
Mm-hmm.
But we also talk about how we got through it and came out on the other side. So I think she was more focused on the hard stuff and feeling like she wasn't there for us.
Right.
Versus, oh, but look, they actually got through it.
Right.
So that was the hard part, is the response from people who care about you, who you care about. And so we try to stress to her, Mom, Dad, we didn't write any of this stuff to hurt anybody. We didn't write any of this stuff because we're, trying to relive it. We wrote it because we know it can help somebody.
Right. So somebody else can benefit from your story.
Absolutely.
Right.
And it wasn't until our book launch, on the day of our book launch, because we had given advance copies to some of the people, the women that attended, including our publicist at the time. It wasn't until, because they still had their doubts and like, oh, people going to read this and the public's going to know. It wasn't until the day of our book launch and our publicist was interviewing us. And she stopped halfway through the interview and started crying and said, you all don't know how these ladies came to me to help them with their book and publicizing and getting them on media and all this and that, when in reality, they actually helped me get my life back.
Wow.
When they saw our publicist crying, that's when my parents realized, okay.
Now I get it.
Now we get it.
And that's the beauty of writing that.
Absolutely.
Because somebody's life is going to be touched.
Exactly it.
Somebody's
That's
life.
exactly it.
Now, what I want to do is I want to take a little break. And when we come back, what I want you to kind of go through with us is, what is the process that people need to go through? What do they need to understand before they get started, during that process, and then at the end? Because we have a question from Barbara Moss, who says she's written a book and she's sold a few, but she wants to see how to get more books sold. And that's always a question, because how do I sell some more books too?
Yeah.
So I'm with you on that one, Barbara. So, we're going to take a little break and just kind of let's get deep into that whole process and how that went. So stay with us. My guest, Julian, will be back. She's going to give us some nice tips and things that we can do to get that book out of you and on paper and published and bound and people buying it. So stick with us. We'll be right back after this short break.
How many of you, by show of hands, are here because you're looking to be inspired? Okay. How many of you are here because you would like to be motivated? Okay. Your mind has two parts. There's the thinker and there's the prover. The thinker thinks and the prover proves.
Some of you have been told that you're not tall enough. Some of you have been told that you're not skinny enough. Some of you have been told that you're not smart enough. Some of you have actually been told that your skin color is not the right color. You've all been misdiagnosed.
It's not hearing the information that matters. It is the application and the implementation of that information that makes the difference.
Yeah.
All right. I hope that, the first half of the show really kind of got you going and really thinking about writing that book, if that was one of the things that you had, that idea in your mind. And now understanding, like, what is that process? What is it that you have to go through? Because a lot of times we kind of make up what we think it is and what we think we need to do. So I have an expert here who, and I have to say this, Julian has a goal of helping 5,000 people write their book. So that's a stretch goal, because, it's hard to get one person to try to write a book. So she wants to help 5,000 people write their book. So, Julian, let's take me through the process. Like, all right, I have this idea. I want to write a book.
Yep.
What do I do next?
So I think one thing that I make sure I do, I usually, especially when you're in the process of writing a book, carry around like a journal, some kind of notebook, because ideas are going to come to you from just nowhere sometimes.
Okay.
And you want to make sure you capture them. So whether it's a journal, I like actually physically writing stuff down. You could use your notepad and your phone or your tablet, your computer, whatever. But just have a way to capture ideas, because there are some things, like you said, you were so busy editing, you had these fleeting thoughts that you forgot.
And I was losing them.
And you were losing them. And so that's the benefit of having something to just kind of capture everything on.
Okay, so capture your ideas. Okay.
Make sure you capture all your ideas. No idea is a bad idea when you're first starting out, because you know, things have a way of kind of morphing as you go, and that happened with our book. Like when we first started, so we had our why. We knew we wanted to write a book that transformed lives. So that's the first thing, is the first step. Figure out your why.
Figure out your why.
We wanted to write a book that's going to transform the lives of women who were just trying to figure out, okay, who am I? What's my purpose? And how do I, and the thing is with our book, one of the reasons why we wrote it was also because there are a lot of self-help books out there, personal development, but what we realized is African women, there was nothing out there that spoke to the cultural aspect of figuring out who you are. Or as we talk about whose shoes you're wearing.
Right.
Because so often we're wearing the wrong shoes. They're giving us corns and bunions and calluses and all kinds of foolishness because we rocking somebody else's shoes that weren't meant for us.
Right. We're trying to be somebody else.
We're trying to be somebody else.
Right.
Exactly.
Right.
You know, so that's number one, why. Carry around a journal or something where you can just capture information. Figure out who you're writing for. Right? Because who you write for and how the voice you use is going to be different depending on who you're writing for.
Right.
So, for instance, we knew we were writing to women like us. So we have a very conversational tone in our book that people love because they kept saying, man, I felt like y'all were just talking to me directly. So we had people read the book and said, I felt like I could tell Julian's voice, I could tell Christine's voice.
Right.
You know?
Right.
So
where y'all kind of cut in and said your part.
Yeah.
Okay.
And we used colloquialisms in there and everything because we wanted it to feel accessible and authentic for people. But we knew our audience was people who just wanted the real deal. We didn't want any fluff. We didn't want to sugarcoat anything. Like, this was what really happened.
Okay.
But if you're writing like a business book, then your tone is obviously going to be a little different. You know, it's going to be
a little more professional.
A little more professional,
right.
A little more, you know, less casual, you know. But that's where it's important to know who you're writing for. You got to know who your target audience is, right?
Okay.
Understand the purpose of your book, right? So you have your why, but then once you write your book, what do you want your book to do? Like, what do you want your book to do? When somebody reads your book, what do you want them to do with it?
Right.
What do you want to happen for them in their lives? So for us, we knew transformation was the goal. However, one thing that we did, and this is important for everybody who's watching and listening, one thing that we did was before we even put the book out there and started promoting it, we had actually written a business plan for the book. Because we knew it was more than just a book, we wanted to build a movement. And so this kind of ties into Barbara's question about how do I sell more books?
Right.
I think the mistake a lot of us make when we're writing a book is we look at it as just a book.
Now,
because that's the old model, right?
Now, for me, my first love was, and my first goal was speaking. And I looked at it as the book was like my business card.
Yep.
Because as a speaker, they're always looking, are you an author? Are you an author? So I guess that also has to be part of it. You know, what else are you planning on doing?
That's exactly it.
So are you just writing a book and you're going to be an author and just write a bunch of books? Or is it some other purpose that you have as well?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, and you know, the book industry has just changed so much over the years. Like, if you think about when somebody like Ian LeBonzant first came out, she was one of the few people talking about what everybody's talking about now. Personal development, spiritual transformation, all of that. There were so few people really talking about that the way she was. Now it's saturated, right? The market, that market. Everybody's a spiritual guru, a spiritual coach,
Everybody.
Right? That's one. Two, self-publishing was not really an option back then either. Whereas now, a 15-year-old can publish your own books.
Yes.
You know, I mean, you push of a button, you can publish your own book, right?
Yeah.
But that also requires you to be even smarter and more strategic about how you use your book if you're trying to stay above all of the noise, because there's a lot of noise.
Yes.
You know? Yes. And so when I talk about purpose, I'm talking about, you know, how are you going to leverage this book for other opportunities, to create other products, to get speaking engagements, right? So you have to know before you even put it out there, you got to know, okay, what do I want this book to do, not just for my audience, but for me as well? Right. Right? So,
because the book can do so much for you.
Absolutely. Absolutely.
It can do so much for you. So I know just recently, the other night, my wife and I were just talking about this. I was watching something that Oprah had done a while ago, and she was talking about Seed of Your Soul, and how I can't even think of his name. Gary Zukav was basically in a cave somewhere, no TV, nothing. He wrote this book, and how he didn't have like that plan. Like I was gonna go speak, I was going until she pulled him out of it. So sometimes you have to know that stuff up front, unless you just write a stellar book and somebody just finds it like Oprah or whatever. But having that plan kind of helps you know what's next after you write the book.
And just be more intentional with it, right?
So after you have your purpose, what else? Is that it? Or we?
Oh no.
I know it's a bunch of stuff, but let's kind of break. What is some of the key things you need to do?
So those things right now that we just talked about are very key.
Getting you started.
Oh, absolutely.
Right.
Like you shouldn't even think about publishing a book until you're clear about those things: your why, your audience, your voice, your message, your purpose. Okay. All those things are really key. And then make sure this is the part that I can't even stress enough. Make sure you have a good editor. Please make sure you have a good editor. Please. I cannot tell you, and I'll tell you, this is why it's so important. Because there are some, actually a number of bookstores, libraries, whatever, they won't even put your book on the shelf if they open it and see a bunch of spelling
typos
that says
and
something
everything
about them.
Yes. That they're going to sell that.
Absolutely. Absolutely. So I think the mistake I see a lot of self-published authors make is that their book looks self-published, right? And it also reads self-published. Right. And, one of the reasons why we were able to get on Fox 5 Good Day the day after our book launch was because they didn't realize we were self-published authors. Right. They had no idea when they looked.
We need to talk about that.
Yeah, absolutely. It's a real conversation because my whole thing is if you're going to put all this time and money and energy and resources into this book, make sure that it is a quality product. Don't put it out there just to say you wrote a book. Right.
I've seen some of those too.
Oh, there's a lot of those out there.
That's a lot of those.
But I'll tell you what, I have my girlfriend Ramunda Lark Young and her husband Derek Young. I did my book launch there. Yes. Absolutely. Yeah.
So hey, Ramunda.
I'm putting in a plug for them. Mahogany Books in Southeast DC. If you have not been there, they just celebrated their 1-year anniversary.
And it's a great bookstore.
It's a magical.
It's an amazing bookstore.
Like,
I know. I loved it.
Walking in there, and it's books by people that look all like us.
Yes.
It's just
I loved it.
A magical place. But she actually said she gets people sending her books all the time. Authors sending her books all the time. And her and her husband will take a look at it. First, they'll look at the cover because the cover is the first ad for your book, right? Yes. If it's not attractive, don't even bother. And then they'll open it, and if they see a bunch of spelling errors, they're not putting that on their shelf.
I agree.
They're not putting it on their
shelf. So make sure you have a good editor.
Oh my goodness.
That's going to catch those typos and misspellings, and even though you can use Word a lot of time and to catch some of them, but sometimes you spell it. You might spell the word correctly, but it's the wrong tense, wrong place, wrong word. Absolutely. So you may have two, but you spelled it T-O-O and it's supposed to be T-O.
Yeah, and that's it.
Or whatever.
And that's
right. Because I know, that.
Get a human editor. That's what we're trying to say. A human editor.
A human being that can go back and say, that didn't really read right.
And then make sure your cover is professionally designed.
Yes.
Please make sure it's designed like a book cover.
Yes.
Yeah. Not like
it's always good to have a good feel to it. When you pick it up and you can.
Absolutely.
Because that's one of the things that people look at. Like the book cover is what make people buy the book.
They do. That's it.
The title and the book cover.
That's it.
Yeah. Am I interested in it?
That's your first marketing strategy right there. Is just make sure that it's interesting to look at and it's interesting to read.
If I look at this, do I want to know what's inside?
That's it.
Okay.
Absolutely.
So. All right, so a couple things. Just getting started. I just want to recap some of the things that you said. So you need to know what your why is. You need to carry something so you can capture ideas so that you don't lose those things. Because sometimes it's hard to get. You may have a great idea. You don't write it down. You may not get that back. And that might be a big turning point in your book. Yeah. It may spark some other things. And then understand who you're writing for and what's the purpose of your book. So just getting started. Those are some key things. Now, I can't have Julian give you everything because we can't do that in an hour anyway. But I wanted you to have an idea of what to do to get started. Now, with that, Julian, share with everyone how they can get all the other things that you actually share. Absolutely. Because like, where can they find you? What are some of the things that you have out there that they can go to now? And then if they are serious and they're really ready to take that step to really getting this book done and writing that, what do you offer? What is it that you can do to help them?
Yeah. So, and I'll definitely answer that. I want to kind of rewind a little bit to, why it's so important to have a plan for your book. Like, you really should have a business plan for your book. It doesn't have to be like this long, drawn-out plan, but have a plan for it, because with us, we realized we wanted to be a movement, and we actually decided we're going to create other products around the book with the same theme. So part of what came out of that, this is actually our 2018 planner, the Whose Shoes Are You Wearing Transformational Planner. And it's really based on the theme of our book, how do you discover your shoes? And so every month we have the story of a different woman who had to go through some kind of obstacle to realize what her purpose was.
In the planner.
In the planner.
Okay.
Yep. So this is actually a book in and of itself, right? But it actually allows you to set your goals, your intentions for the year. And as with our book, we have had so many women tell us, y'all got to keep publishing this planner every year because it has changed my life. It has changed my business. And this year, we actually got a Fortune 500 company to order 500 of these for a corporate event.
Okay.
And so this is why I go back to knowing your purpose for the book and knowing what you want to do with it, because we knew we wanted to go bigger than just the book. And knowing that ahead of time allows you to plan for some of that.
Right.
And that's why we're able to start now expanding into corporate arenas, as well as the speaking engagements and media and all that has come out of it. And so why I talk about this is because we wanted to build a brand, not just write a book.
Right.
Our goal was to build a brand, not just write a book. And so our Whose Shoes brand has taken on just a life of its own. We just started, actually today is the last day to get our Whose Shoes bundle. So our new planner is coming out. It's the 2019 Whose Shoes planner. And I was going to wear the t-shirt, but I said, it's all right, y'all, catch it online. It is at Whose Shoes Book, and that's WHOSE, at Whose Shoes Book, on every platform, Twitter, Facebook, Instagram. And we have a Cyber Monday special going right now where you get the t-shirt, because the theme for this year is I Am Powerful.
I saw the shirt. Nice shirt.
Hot, ain't it? And
That's
it's
nice.
glitter too, y'all. The glitter t-shirt is hot. It's hot. So it's I Am Powerful, and then our planner has affirmations throughout. I know you're big on affirmations too.
Yes.
So throughout the planner we have I am beautiful, I am powerful, I am courageous. I mean, just things to keep you set on the right things throughout the year. And then for the first time ever, we have our Whose Shoes journal. So talking about, capture those ideas.
Okay.
We now have a journal where you can actually capture all your thoughts, your dreams, your goals, and just write freely. So if you go to any of our platforms at Whose Shoes Book, you'll see the link to get the Cyber Monday special.
Get that. Does that end today?
That ends tonight.
That ends tonight.
11:59 p.m.
There you go. So make sure you're on that.
Yes, and it's usually $105 retail, but it's going for $75 and makes an amazing gift.
Great stocking stuffers.
For yourself or for somebody else. We had somebody who bought it a couple nights ago, and they were like, I was going to buy this with somebody else, but I might have to be selfish this time. I ain't mad at you.
That's all right.
So that just speaks to how we created a brand out of a book.
Out of a book,
and so I actually teach a course called Write Your Book, Build Your Brand, right? Because I truly believe if you're going to spend all that time and energy and resources writing this book, designing it, getting it edited, published, doing a launch, it takes a lot of money and time to do that. So how do you get a return on your investment? You have to really look at your book as more than just a book. It needs to be your foundation for building your brand. And so I have an entire course that I launched this year, actually. We're in the second launch of the course, Write Your Book, Build Your Brand. And it is 10 modules of just when I tell you everything you need to know, everything you need to know about writing your book, about editing it, about designing it, about publishing, about launching it, about promoting it. So both on the social media side, we have an expert talking about that, as well as on the public relations side. And how do you get on Fox, or maybe not Fox for some people, but on
TV,
on TV, on radio, all of that.
Right.
Because the book has just done so many amazing things for us, and we said, okay, how do we now teach other? Because once we wrote the book, we had some people coming to us and saying, show me how to do that?
Right.
So I said, you know what, I really wanted to make something that was accessible to people, where they can actually go and learn at their own pace. So
where can they go to sign up, register for the course, find out more information about the course? Let them know where they can go to get all that good stuff.
So if you go to thewriteyourbookcourse.com, it is thewriteyourbookcourse.com. It has, all these testimonials. And like Darius said, that one tip.
One tip.
Get his book out.
That changed everything for me, I tell you.
And it's just something I'm so passionate about, helping people tell their stories, because I know for us, it was so therapeutic and just getting it out, and it just, you don't realize, even after you've gone through something, you write it down and you're like, I think, here's the thing, like once we wrote this book and we told on ourselves, we said, oh, ain't nobody can tell us nothing because we don't put it out there.
Right.
So
It's already out there.
It's all out there.
And they can't say anything because you volunteered it.
Listen.
Right. Right. Because I know, because I was very vulnerable as well.
Yeah.
And I thought I think that depending on the type of book that you're writing, but if your book is to help someone else, I think people need to know that you went through something.
Absolutely.
You can't sit here and try to tell me how to do something and you're showing me that you never went through anything.
Exactly.
So I think that vulnerable part, especially if you're writing a book that is, the goal of it is to help somebody else out of whatever kind of situation they may be in.
Yep.
So I think it's excellent that you shared that you have to be vulnerable. You have to have the mindset that I am going to be open about sharing this.
Yeah, and
not
end of the
care.
day, and that's the thing. So I think one of the questions I get a lot is, how much do I tell? And my answer to that is whatever you're comfortable telling, but keeping in mind that there are some things that should be kept to your discretion.
Yes.
So there
everything.
should be a line, right?
Not everything.
Exactly.
Some things, and some things people don't want to know.
Right. So
like, that's a little too much.
A line there.
Yeah, that's a little bit too much.
And I think the way to gauge that is this going to help the reader?
Right.
When you think about what you want to share.
Awesome. Now, I started in my book, I started at the end of the chapter, so when you read it, there's a section called What Now? So I've kind of carried that over into the show. So, I want people to have something tangible, an action step, a plan that they can take away from every show. So like after the show, they know exactly what their next steps should be. And I typically try to make it so it's something where they can do it wherever they are. So I want you to help me out today.
All right, what you need there?
All right, so I want you to, I want to go into the What Now segment before we wrap up and just give that aspiring writer or that person that just had an idea of writing a book or is in the process of writing a book, what is it that they should either focus on or they should do now? What should they do now?
I think so many times we make things so much more complicated than they really are. Like, honestly, we make it so much more complicated. And it can be intimidating because you look at people who've written books and you're like, man, am I ever going to get there? And, I think what now, I'm going to go back to what I said before. I think the first thing is be clear about your why.
Okay.
Get a Google Doc. And this is what I recommend because I love Google Docs. It's easy to collaborate. If you have somebody who has to edit for you, give feedback, it makes it real easy, right? That's what my sister and I use. So get a Google Doc or get your journal, whatever it is that works for you, and write down why telling your story is so important. Understanding who is it that you're trying to help. Who can be blessed by your story? Your story, I think understanding that your story matters. Most people don't even think that people want to hear what they have to say.
Yes.
I am enthralled by people's stories. Like, I'm one of the most inquisitive people that you'll probably ever find because I want to know, I want to know about you,
Right.
And that's just the human condition. We want to know about you because we want to find a way to connect with you, right? We were meant to connect as humans. So I think, first of all, figure out your why. Why is it so important for you to write this story, and who are you trying to help with this story? And then second thing, very simple, literally just do a brain dump. Write down every single thing your book could be about. Just write down whatever ideas you have in your head And once you've written it down, then go back and sort through. But don't edit, just like Darius said, don't edit as you write. Do those two things, right, just to get started. And you'll be surprised how that starts creating a snowball effect. So I would say those two things for people who are aspiring and don't know where to start.
Awesome.
You do those two, you're on your way.
You're on your way. Well,
and then register for my course.
Right, I was going to say. And then make sure you sign up so you know what to do after that. Once you have the idea, you do the brain dump. Now we need to know what is the steps as far as writing it, grammatically, all those things. And then, after or even before, because you need to market and promote before. Absolutely. And not like a week before.
No, my goodness, that's a whole other show.
Right. So make sure that you follow Julian on social media. Make sure if you are, and I strongly encourage you, if you are thinking about writing a book, definitely you need to listen to this young lady. I know personally she's helped me. She's actually gotten me out of a situation while I was in the process of writing my book. And she's very easy to understand. She's very clear. And very relaxed, as you see here today. That's how everything that I've seen her do, that's the feeling that I get. So I feel that, she's very sincere, very genuine. And so it makes me want to listen more and really take to heart what she's saying. So I encourage you all to definitely, follow Julian. Give them the website, your social media tags, everything one more time so everybody has that.
So to follow me, I am everywhere at Julian B Kiganda, Kiganda, at Julian B Kiganda. The course, you can find out more about that at thewriteyourbookcourse.com. Thewriteyourbookcourse.com.
Guys, I don't know about you, but I wish I'd have known a little bit more before I started writing my book. So this is some great, because I learned the hard way. I banged my head a lot.
Most people do.
I banged my head a lot. But Julian came to the rescue for me just in time. So, if you have that idea, I want to strongly encourage you to, follow her, sign up for her course, and take it seriously. For, writing a book, the process can be a little daunting sometimes.
It can be.
But the reward of it at the end is well worth it.
Yeah.
Well worth it. To have something that no one can take away.
Absolutely.
To say that you did this and it's going to go on longer than you.
Absolutely.
That is a beautiful thing.
Legacy.
It's a beautiful thing. So I want to thank you for coming. I appreciate you.
I had a great time.
Me too. And I know this is just not even scratching the scratch of the surface.
An hour already?
Yeah, right. Exactly. Yeah. So it's like not even scratching the surface at all on what people need to do or what we need to do. And then we're going to have you come back.
Absolutely.
Because we need to talk. And I think once people start writing their book, the other thing is, what do I do after it's over? After I'm done writing?
Yes.
What do I do? How do I get that exposure? How do I get, seen and noticed? And because we had a question of, how do I sell more books?
Yep.
Like, how do I do that? How do I get people? Yeah. This is the other thing that I think is important. Yeah. How do I get people to write a review for my book?
So a lot of these things are a lot easier than they seem, and we talk about it extensively in the course. But I can definitely come back to do another show and touch on those things, because I think those things are important. But get the course, guys. Sign up for her course, and she does live events all the time. So make sure you follow her, because you just had an event. A masterclass, a write book masterclass, which is amazing.
See, so all those things are good. So make sure that if this is something that you want, and I want to share this too, just before we wrap up here. If you put out what it is that you want, I just so wholeheartedly believe that the universe is going to bring back what you need to get the answers that you're seeking. So you have to first make a commitment to yourself that this is something that you want to do. You need to speak it, and you need to put it out saying what it is that you want. Don't get wrapped up in the fact that you are looking at the end result. Just say, I want to write a book. And I just need to figure out how to do it. And if you are committed to that, and you go out and that's what you stick to, I guarantee you that the universe is going to bring people into your life, It's going to bring all these things into your life at the time that you need them. And I am proof of that, because that's how I found this young lady. So put out what it is that you want. Make sure you go after, be focused, and that was one of the other things that you said. You have to be focused. Be focused on getting it done, and you can make it happen. So I am looking forward to you all letting me know that you finished writing your book, or that you started writing your book. I know we had some great comments on our Facebook page. So definitely share this out, because I know some of you probably know other people that are looking to write a book. So share the goodness. So thank you guys for joining us this Monday. We will see you next Monday. Thank you, Julian, for being here with us. Guys, as we close out, remember always, greatness begins with one wise decision. We'll see you next week, guys. Have a great week.
This is Darius, the Professor Wise, host of Wise Words with Darius. Thank you.